Welcome to the SOB radio show, where we have fun, interesting guests, and hot topics. Each week, we offer insights into music, fashion, health, fitness, and humor. Do you have the perfect guest for us to interview? I want to know. Drop me a line on our Facebook page at Spunky Old Broad 1 or reach out to me on our website at spunkyoldbroad.com. And now, back to the show.
Hi, everybody. We have a delightful guest for you today. Her name is Sunie Levin. Sunie is the author of 5 books. She's a graduate of the University of Missouri. She holds degrees in education and psychology. She founded the Midwest Reading and Dyslexia Clinic in Kansas City for children and adults with learning problems. And she's a popular lecturer. She taught university classes and has conducted workshops throughout the country and on 9 cruise ships. She's written columns for the Kansas City Star, Child Magazine, Senior Wire Service, Mature Lifestyles, and appeared on many regional and TV radio networks. She's got 3 daughters, 22 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandkids. At age 88, she is still writing articles and books for seniors. So those of you out there who are saying, it's too late for me, listen to what Sunie has to say. Welcome, Sunie, to the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to be 82 my next birthday, so I'm looking forward to the days of 88. So I'm glad that you're still active and doing and working. So let's talk about all of the things that I've just mentioned about you. Why did you start writing books for grandparents? Was there nothing in the market, or did you feel there was a lack out there of the kind of thing you were talking about, or what made you begin that?
Oh, absolutely. There was, they were saying things like, oh, I love my grandchildren, but there was no one that was out there telling them what to do about the grandkids that live many, many miles away. And at one point, we had one living in Japan. So I wrote the book, You and Your Grandchildren, Special Ways to Keep in Touch, and it's still being used all over the country because they need ideas. Some of the ideas people already have, but many of the ideas I suggested were new for them.
Well, it's not only grandchildren. I assume that you should be writing a book also for great grandchildren because more and more people are living longer. I mean, I've got 2 great grandchildren, and and There's a difference in how you work with great grandchildren as to grandchildren, because first of all, you loved upon your grandchildren in a particular way, and now they're the parents, so you're having to talk to their kids, which is a whole different ball game as well. So maybe your next book needs to be for great grandchildren. I don't know, Sunie. We'll have to think about that. but
Right.
but you also wrote a book that's kind of interesting, Mingled Roots for Interfaith Grandparents, and how they're important. And in today's world, I know when I was growing up, boy, if you dated out of your religion, it was just taboo. Then I married a man out of my religion, and my parents disowned me. They grew to love him, of course, and welcome me back. But it was kind of interesting. And today, I mean, not only do you see interfaith marriage, but you also see um, ethnic interfaith. You see so many people who are from different cultures who are marrying. So there's ethnicity, there's religion, there's culture. All of these things are happening today because we're global now. I mean, there's no getting away from
Absolutely.
it. So tell us about this.
Mingle Roots. It's called Mingle Roots for grandparents of interfaith grandchildren. And the main thing that we have to know is that we sometimes have to put duct tape over our mouths that match our outfit because
I
if
love it.
we don't, we'll be in a lot of trouble, particularly when the first grandchildren are born. it's very important that you do what the parent wants you to do. And in interfaith, you have to ask the permission. It's important to be able to tell them what your background is and how you live your life, but you can't interfere with what the parents have decided. So it's extremely important to be aware of the things that they have already taught and so on, and ask permission for you to be able to talk to them or maybe give them books from your particular religion. I interviewed ministers, priests, rabbis, all different people before. And right now, well, when I first wrote my book, it was about 40% interfaith. Now it's closer to 80% in all religions. And this is something that you have to handle with care. And as I say, it's very important to get that duct tape when you need it.
Well, I would think also, Sonny, and tell me about this, because I don't know if you interview some of these grandparents or how you come about, your research and so forth. But, you know, when you are a great grandparent, it pretty much is that you're going to be probably over 70, somewhere in that 70 and up. And it's awfully hard to change viewpoints at that particular point. So have you found any resistance in not only grandparents, but in great grandparents that you have come in contact with who have read your book or who have, been in touch with you?
Right. I went all around the country. I was invited when my book first came out to come to various churches and synagogues, etc., to give a presentation. And the audiences were all very aware of having to get permission to give any suggestions to their children. And things have changed so much. I mean, when our first ones were born, we maybe paid $39 for a little car seat. Well, I just purchased one for one of my little interfaith granddaughters that's due in March, and I paid $350 for the car seat. So things have changed. How they feed the children, how they take care of the children, and particularly in Chicago, they have to have the police has to have a car seat that is bound to the seat so that it's part of it. So they're trying to be concerned about the safety. So things have changed and we have to do some reading about what the changes are and go along with it.
Well, it's funny you talk about that because, of course, I don't know, when you and I had our kids, I mean, when I had my kids, there were no car seats. And as a matter of fact,
Right.
I was driving a VW, a little Beetle. And when we used to go to the beach, the two older kids who were not that old, I mean, probably at that point were 7 and 8, were in the back seat along with the playpen and water skis
Yes.
that went through the roof, the sunroof. And the baby was on my lap because that's where
Yeah, I
it
know.
was, And so I'm
Exactly.
sure it's better today with the safety and so forth and so on. But, we got them raised, which was almost a miracle
I
in
know.
itself. But I think that's interesting. You also wrote another book, which I want to talk about because I know what this really means. At least I think I know what it means. When you said, this is a recent book of yours, Senior Orphans, Survival Skills.
Yes,
And I think you mean
absolutely.
by that people who are seniors who don't have family or don't have family that comes and sees them. I don't know if that's who you were referring to, but I remember my mom when she moved to a new city where my sister was, and my sister had a private practice. She was a psychotherapist, and she had her practice in the basement, and then my mother lived in the house. And she would tell us that there were people on her block that just pined for her to come visit them because none of their family either talked to them or called them or did anything, which we couldn't understand because we were always very close. But I mean, I didn't call my mother every day, but I we always talked every week, and she spent 35 winters with me in Florida when my dad passed away.
Right.
But so tell us about these senior orphans.
Well, interestingly enough, senior orphans actually start at age 50 when you can get your ARP
The
card.
AARP, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's funny. I've just got to tell you this, and then I'll let you finish. I talked to my son yesterday, and he just turned. Let's see, I think he turned 54 or something. Let's see. I think he's 54 or 55. I had to think it out. Anyway, he was mentioning, well, when I'm 55, and I said, well, you can join AARP, and he said to me, "You're kidding, Mom." And I said, because he's very vital, and he's a workout guy and he's in great shape. And I said, well, you actually could have joined it at 50. He says, "You're kidding." And I said, "No." He says, "Well, what are the benefits?" Well, then I had to go, tell him all the things. But he was so funny
All
because,
the perks, yes.
yeah, he said he just couldn't believe he was old enough for that. So anyway, go ahead, Sonny, and tell us about these senior orphans.
Well, it actually it's anyone that doesn't have a mate, or it is people that some people have companions or significant others, but there are would you believe 40 million seniors in the United States over 65. That was a 2017 census that was taken, and so many. There's 13 million singles, widows, divorced, or never married, and it is they're lonely, they're sad, and they retire at 65. Now, what are you going to do when you can live to 100? In my book, there are a number of uh, people that have lived over 100 years. The oldest is 109 and a half.
Oh my gosh.
And yes, absolutely. And there's so much you can do in living and reinventing yourself. I've reinvented myself a number of times, and I have other people in the book that have reinvented themselves. I started out teaching school, then had a learning disability clinic, then I had a art gallery for a while. I helped my husband with his business and learned what he needed to have at the time. And then I started writing books. And then, because of the books that I was writing, they asked me to speak on board ship. And I did that. So many reinvent, and I'm still reinventing myself. It's better than just sitting there watching TV all day. There's so much out there. And one of the most important things in my book is how to make new friends, how to prepare for living solo, being able to reach out. And you have to be actually proactive in trying to make new friends, but it can be done. And make younger friends. I mean, so many of my friends, we're going to another funeral tomorrow. I mean, every week it seems like there's another person that has died that we've known for many years. And so it's important to make younger friends. They do drive, and that is become
I love
and that's
that.
sort of and it becomes an issue as you get older. And it's very important. I like to plan ahead, and this is what my book is about. How you can plan getting your act together and take care of yourself. Your children will thank you for it. It's
Well,
very important.
it's so interesting that you mentioned so many of these things, really, Sonny, because first of all, I still drive. I drive everywhere. I drive at night. And my son always says, "Mom, you shouldn't be driving all those distances," because I go from Miami to Fort Lauderdale to Palm Beach, and I'm always driving, It's very
Right.
often at night, and you get these thunderstorms and so forth. But I say, well, so far so good. But it's so true. I talk about I think I've reinvented myself about 9 times, and
Uh-huh.
it's so true that when people retire and they don't have a plan, that they just don't know what to do with themselves. My husband retired 3 times, and none of his friends were retired, and so he was going to go fishing every day, and he did. He never caught anything, but he went fishing all the time. And finally he said, I'm tired of this, and so he would go back into business. But the point is, you do have to keep occupied, and people are very vital. And I'm just wondering, this 109.5-year-old woman or man, I don't know whether it was a woman or man, that you interviewed,
Woman.
woman, okay, this woman who you interviewed, were there things that she did that kept her
Oh, yes.
vital? Okay, tell us
Oh,
about.
absolutely. Well, for one, she renewed her driver's license at age 100, and it's framed on her wall. But besides that, she was in my husband's class of raising little 1 pound weights and doing exercises at 103 and 104. Then she stopped at 105. But she still, a lot of it, she did volunteer work, and she helped mentor children and was always busy helping other people. And that, she told me, is what kept her going completely. And as I say, she's 109 and a half. And I think I have to tell you about another 104-year-old. And my husband we see, because we are in a retirement home right now, but it's a step-up one. And every time Regina sees my husband, she says, "Now, don't forget, you're going to be my pallbearer." His answer to her, "No, you're going to be mine." So they
When
have
you
this
say
little
when you say step
conversation.
up, what do you mean though? When you say step up?
What I mean is, we are in an individual villa right now, but
Ah, okay.
we are able to take advantage of it in the big building, eating if we want to, going to some of the programs that they have. We actually put on some of the programs. One of the programs I put on was memory loss and how you can avoid it. And every time I lose my keys, my husband will say, "Now go read your article, please." So,
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, it really, first of all, it's really a shame how we treat our elderly. That's number one, because
right.
they do become forgotten. And it is true that many of them will downsize and move into either an over 55 facility or an assisted living facility, depending on their needs. But again, that doesn't mean you should stop visiting them, And I totally agree with you as far as making friends. Now, what I am not sure about, because I happen to make friends pretty easily, I can walk into a room and walk out with 5 new friends. What is your advice on making friends? I would like to hear that.
Oh, actually, uh, if you're interested in other people, and ask them questions when you meet somebody new, it's so important to, and sometimes you'll know that there note a chemistry between you and them, and find out what they're interested in, and particularly if their opinions are different than yours. It's very stimulating to be able to have a conversation with them, and also get a little notepad that you can write down some of the things that you talk about with them. So the next time you bump into them, you'll be able to, it looks like you remember, but you can kind of read it before you meet up with them. You need to go to the places, to the senior centers and different places that you will meet new people. You have to keep an attitude of being open. Don't retire from life ever, and stop complaining. Everybody has their aches and pains, and that will push people away faster than anything if you start complaining about what your aches and pains are. But you're never too old to find new friends, and particularly, it's very lonesome if you're by yourself, and your lifestyle changes, and you have to scour the community newsletters, join the book groups, invite neighbors over for meals, even if you just bring it in from a deli. And few will resist the invitation of ask advice about their doctors and who they use for the beauty. The other day, somebody called me up and wanted to know, your hair always looks so nice. And she said, now, where do you have your hair done? I said, in my closet. She said, in your closet? I said, I have a couple wigs that I have in my closet. Oh, my goodness, she said, please tell me where you got them, because I'm getting a little thin on top of my head, okay? So, you need to project a sunny disposition, and most important, become good listeners. There are plenty of times you want somebody to listen to you.
Well, that's true.
Friendship.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But how to contact them and something about their interests. And people are really delighted when you remember things about them. And try social networking to make, today's communication. So many people will say, oh, I'm too old to learn the computer. No, that's not the truth. Kids can teach you the computer, or friends can teach you. You can go to the senior center I have people, friends all over the world that we used to call them pen pals. Now I call them cyber friends. And it really fills up your time of being able to be in touch with them. And one of the good friends was Dorothy Wilhelm, and you have her also as one of your friends.
Yes, she is.
Yes, we established a relationship several years back, and we know about each other's family, and it's a wonderful be able. And this keeps dementia at bay. If you're around someone who's feeling passionate about some of the topics that you are, and you can start talking to them and things. So it's very important to be able to get out there and make new friends. And because if you don't have any family or anyone that can be your advocate, you need to work on it as soon as possible.
Well,
and that's what my book is all about. And also, one more thing I might say, I spent over a year looking up things that would in the appendix that would help them find the things that they needed. There are so many devices out there that can be helpful. There's particularly if you're having difficulty with your eyes or your ears, there's so many plus things. And I have all sorts of podcasts like your SOB in my book, and other support groups that will be helpful to you, and different computer groups that you can rely on that for important health information, and social networks that are really helpful to you.
Well, it's so interesting. Yeah, we've got about 2 minutes left in this segment, Sunie, but so many of the things that you said are so important. First of all, it's important, no matter what your age is, to write things down, because if you don't, you are going to forget them, and the mind considers something written down a completion. So it's going to help you to remember. So it doesn't matter whether you're 20, 40, 60, or 80, or 100, you're going to have to write things down if you want to remember. And that's a great tip for continuing a friendship or or making the friendship even deeper is to know about the other person. So that's really, really important. And if you are not computer or let's just say tech friendly, if you can't figure out the computer or your cell phone, so you can get text messages from your grandchildren and your great grandchildren, you're going to be out in the cold because that's how they communicate. They don't even
That's
talk
right.
to each other. They don't talk to each other across the table. They text each other across the table. Now, I don't
I
agree
know.
with that, but that's the way it is. So if you're going to be in the know with your grandkids and your great grandkids, then you're going to be texting. Well, hold on, folks. We're going to be back with Sunie, who is just an absolute delight. And we're taking our break now. We'll come back in just a few minutes, so stick with us.
Hi, this is Dr. Gayle, and I wanted you to know I have a whole bunch of other things to offer you. If you go to spunkyoldbroad.com, you will see an array of SOB stuff for sale and all our latest products and additions. If you're interested in getting on TV, I have a brand new course, Get on TV. And if you want to start your own business, you'll want my SOB Guide to Business Success. I know you'll love them all. I guarantee it.